Without further ado, I'd like to invite our first speaker to the stage, Tito.
Good evening, and thank you for being here tonight. I would like to first acknowledge the traditional owners of the land we are meeting on today. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. My name is Tito, a textile-obsessed writer, synthetic hair artist, activist, and all-round very left-of-centre hippie. I'm also a highly decorated game engineer, full-stack software engineer, project lead, technical designer, and game architect. My journey to game development was far from typical. I came from a rather colourful academic background, having studied archaeology, anthropology, comparative religions, cultural theory, creative writing, and theatre. I watched the games of my youth evolve from a niche activity to a medium with more and more cultural impact. I saw the lack of diversities in the games being made and the people making them. I saw and still see games being made that called on a very narrow set of Western cultural tropes, with no reflection to their wider global cultural context. So I decided to make games, because in reality, games needed people like me. And even more importantly, I wanted to be in engineering games because people said I couldn't. Fast forward 10 years. Far from its niche beginnings, in 2018, games had a global market value of over 130 billion US dollars. We have games on our computers, games on our TVs, and games in our pockets. When I started making games, I was not aware of what was generally considered impossible. So I did it. And this habit of breaking walls and pushing system design past the possible has allowed me to work on intellectual properties like Star Wars, The Simpsons, Ice Age, and Crossy Road. This journey, however, was not without barriers. If it's not clear already, I don't fit the accepted mold of a games engineer. In professional contexts, I've been told to smile more, to pretend I was less intelligent. I've been underpaid. I've had other people take credit for my work. I've had my technical skills questioned and been passed over for roles at companies because of cultural fit. 2 years ago, I left EA and took a leap. I believed that game data architecture could be done differently. I've been able to test some of my concepts, but once again, I wanted to push the bounds of what people thought were possible. I wanted to put the power back in the hand of the creatives, empowering them to tell different stories, while still making stable, robust games that didn't rely on them having to deal with the gatekeeper of games, the programmer. So I began to work on my dynamic, code-generated game data system. Whenever I pitched my idea to other engineers, they scoffed. It was too hard to do, it would never work. What I wanted to do was impossible. So I did it. 8 months ago, I gave my presentation on my system at our regional games industry conference, Games Connect Asia Pacific. In part because of the disbelief I had encountered as I developed it, and in part because of this Babylon 5 quote, I called the presentation Lessons in Technomancy. The system itself is quite complex and tech-heavy. However, at its core, it's quite elegant and simple. It relies on the concept that the programmer, when writing code, does not need to know what it is. It just needs to know that it exists. The creation of it then becomes the field of the creative. In the end, the presentation and the system itself was incredibly well received across the industry, resulting in quite a number of converts to the way of the technomancer. I would like to finish with this short version of my journey, with a quote from Ada Lovelace, the very first computer programmer. In 1842, Ada saw the potential for the computer to deal with concepts far beyond basic mathematics. We have realised this future, but we can go so much further. We need people who think differently, build different things, value different things, tell different stories, and most importantly, imagine different futures. So I challenge you all to see a different type of future, to get out there and do impossible things. Thank you.